Count it down. Good morning everybody. Slightly different start today, the back end of the bushwalking vehicle. My name is James Henry, you are with WildEarth TV and this is a live dawn safari. Unfortunately, you are looking at an injured lioness who's trying to keep up with the rest of her pride. And things do not look good for that lioness. Like I say, you're on a live morning safari, couple of technical difficulties, so just to give you some background, and if you want to talk to us, we do love to hear from you and interact with you, hashtag Safari Live or questions at WildEarth.tv. We're in the middle, or on the western edges of the great Kruger National Park, and that is a lioness following of the Nkuhuma Pride. Following the rest of her pride, she still looks in pretty good health, other than for her leg, but her leg is very clearly in a lot of pain. And I think that what you will find is that she's going to start losing condition now, because she's not going to be able to fight at kills. She's not going to be able to contribute to the hunt. That injury looks to me to be, I don't know, fairly dire, I must say. Lions, of course, are very good scavengers. There are a whole lot of buffalo coming through here, Andrew. Andrew's on camera, by the way.
Morning, patrol stations.
And on the other vehicle, well, sort of doing a bush, while we wait for this to unfold, a bush fire set up in the morning because of a lack of vehicles at the moment is Brent Smith with Brian, Tara and Louise in the final control. Like I say, a very live and interactive safari, so please do talk to us. This is not a good situation for that lioness. Lions are great scavengers, so she might be able to eat her way to health or scavenge her way to health, but that doesn't look like a good injury. And remember, lions do not live in what we call an egalitarian society. They don't live in a society that is helpful. They live in a society of almost complete selfishness. So no one's going to stand back and help her. Alright, let's try and move. It looks to me like one of the front feet. She's walking so gingerly that I can't tell which one it is. So we'll just try and move around here. I don't know if our signal will hold. The signal is a little bit dodgy on this car, but we will go around down into the drainage. I just saw looked like a young buffalo. They might actually have. I know there was a young calf here on its own with a bull earlier. I wonder if they haven't perhaps killed it in this drainage line, and maybe they were just having a drink, because they look pretty well fed, I have to say. So let's just ease our way in here and see what we can see. What the buffalo was doing there, I don't know. Can you see them there? Yeah, down into it. So should we go onto the wall? Well, we can try that. Mahindra, I'm not sure about. And lots of postulation, of course, as to what's injured and why. Erlene, you said it looks like a back foot. I don't think it's a back foot. I think it's a foot. As you say, she could have been sleeping all night, and certainly that would have an effect. There they are, Andrew. They're just lying through there. Can you see them? So, Erlene, absolutely, sleeping will make a huge difference to their ability, to this kind of stiffness. Right, I'm just going to call in on the radio where they all are. Don't know if any...
Okay, copy. Right, I'll go west along Gary Main and then north from Dams. Thank you.
Stations, I don't know if anyone copied my update from a while ago. Nkuhuma Pride is static to the south of Gary Dam.
Morning, James, thank you. There's a few stations showing interest. I will just let the guys know.
Copy that, only one here. Right, also you can hear, perhaps, I don't know how good the microphone is on that camera, there are a whole lot of squirrels shouting an alarm calling to the south there, and I suspect it's because they've spotted these lions. Now it's interesting because these squirrels, we often hear them calling like this, and we go rushing in to look at what they're looking at, but they're quite a long way from these lions, and I think squirrels have better eyesight than we give them credit for. And what that means is that when we go tracking and we hear them shouting, it's quite difficult to tell actually what they're shouting at, especially how far away whatever it is that's made them upset is. Because those squirrels are a good sort of, I'd say 50 to 100 meters away from these lions. But what a wonderful start to the morning this is. It's a hippo. A hippo out of the water. Where it thinks it's going to find water. Can you see it, Andrew? I'm not going to blast that down. The hippo are very nervous outside of water, and it will just disappear. Fascinating. I wonder where that hippo's come from. Now, as the water dries out, everyone, remember we're going into the really driest part of the season. As the water dries out, so animals like hippo will be under increasing pressure. There it is, going onto the dam wall, hoping to find some water, going to be disappointed. That's magnificent to see a hippo out of the water in this light. Look at that. You see him, Andrew? Okay. So everybody, Andrew is hand holding this camera because it is the bushwalk camera, so ideally it's suited for being on foot, and so he may just have to make the odd adjustment while we sit here. What do you want to do? Should we go and see? I think we should go and see that hippo, to be honest. Just go and have a look down the drainage line. I don't think these lions are going to go anywhere, and so let's go and have a quick look at the hippo, and then we'll come back to exactly where we're sitting here. It's all happening. As long as we can just sit around here all day, we should have a decent full broadcast. And just not assumption, postulation that perhaps well, Andrew, we all want new things. We all want things we can't have. All right, okay, we'll go across to the Djuma Dam cam and we'll get a great view of the hippo. Oh, he's horribly injured. Got some terrible injuries. We'll turn it on. Okay. Look at that, everybody. That is not, well, that is an unusual sight for this time of the day. Normally, by the time it gets light, the hippo go into the water. That hippo has got a nasty injury on the right-hand side of its body. I don't think it was inflicted by those lions. I'm pretty sure. To me, that looks like it was inflicted by another hippo. Maybe it was lions, but that's a very big hippo for lions to be attacking. And also seems to be limping a bit. So as I was saying, as the water gets drier and drier and the sort of deep water that hippo can sit in gets more and more scarce, so the hippo will fight. And competition over water will result in injuries to young bulls like that. And what you don't want to do is that fellow on foot. He will feel highly threatened by the fact that he's unable to be in the water. Yeah, no, he's in for a bit of a rough time. I think he came over here in desperation, hoping that perhaps there was some water in here. I can just see him in the bush there. Let's go back to the lions, just in case they move off. Lions don't do a lot of moving at the best of times, but I think they look pretty well fed, so I think they'll be around for a while. Now, I haven't seen this pride for... An interesting question here, and I think that this is... I couldn't tell exactly which foot was sore, and maybe it isn't a foot. Are we doing this side there? A lot of space. A lot of space. Let's take... She could have... Perhaps it's not sore. Perhaps her chest cavity is so sore that she can't use her chest muscles to move. Shoulder. Cannot see behind me there. Tax? Kunamfubu ingenele. Winnie. Inegati. It's for Vegi. So I'm not sure if you can hear us, everyone, but the lions clearly have gone fast asleep here, and I don't think they're going to move a great deal during the course of this day. They may move further into the shade if this cloud burns off. And I must just apologize for our signal breakups. Nothing we can do, I'm afraid, at the moment. Strange barometric pressure and strange barometric pressure, different weather conditions and various other things that have conspired to make the signal a bit difficult for us to bring to you. Nevertheless, there are the lions. Marvellous to see. And like I say, I haven't seen them for a while. So, just before I stopped being able to talk, there was an interesting postulation from Lois that perhaps there was a rib injury or perhaps a chest injury of some kind to one of those lionesses. And she wasn't actually limping so much as being really, maybe her sternum was sore and she was unable to use her the chest muscles to make those front legs move properly. I think that's quite possibly exactly what's going on, because I couldn't tell exactly which foot. Quite possibly exactly what's going on, because I couldn't tell exactly which foot looked sore. So it may well be the fact that she's really hurt the chest, the sternum here. And Molly and Lisa, I don't think it could be an internal injury. I think an internal injury would present in a lot more physiological kind of signs. I think she'd be getting... Sorry, I have to hold this up. Apparently you can't hear me when I'm doing my David Attenborough whisper at the lion sighting. Apparently, if it was an internal injury, I think that'd be showing some kind of sort of physiological strain. I think that'd be skinniness, immediately getting thin, probably not outward obvious kind of muscular limping. There could be internal injuries, but I don't think that's affecting the way she walks. And I'm just thinking, I don't know if you've ever hurt your sternum, perhaps, or if you've ever been to a gym, perhaps, and done too much exercise on the chest. Andrew, have you ever done that? Once or twice. You can get really sore around here, and then it becomes extremely difficult to use your arms. And the front legs are, of course, the arms of the lion. So maybe she's got, I don't think it's a stiffness in the muscles, but it could well be some kind of maybe intercostal, which are the muscles between the ribs, maybe an intercostal injury or snapped rib or a sternum injury. And that's going to really affect the way that she can walk. Very interesting postulation, Lois. Thank you for that. Can you see anything? Sure. Can you see? Okay. 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 All right, cool. Thanks very much. Now, lots of you, of course, have been watching these lions for a lot longer than I have. You've been viewing them on the Djuma Dam cam, which, of course, is a live feed from the dam just in front of Wuyatela Lodge. And Dino, you've pointed out that they all did their morning constitutionals in the same place. And you want to know, is it common that they have a sort of latrine area? Yes, it is common. It's not as kind of... Hyenas will have latrine areas all over their territories that they use regularly. Civets do the same sort of thing. But lions, they will sort of go in the same area if they happen to be in the same area. So they might not return to the same area and go again, but if they will certainly, while they're in, say, around a dam or around a kill, they'll normally extract to the same point to go to the loo, and then, yeah, sort of move off from it. So that's a really good observation. Thank you, Dino. I was just talking to another game drive there to see that he could see. There seem to be quite a few people interested in coming into the sighting. Andrew, have you got all 5 there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, a very good question. My old friend Amber Eyes, I can't see her. She's a little bit older than the one that we're looking at here. Barbara, you want to know if I have spotted her? I haven't yet. She must be here if there are 5 lionesses. So, yeah, I don't know, but I'm guessing that she must be around here. We'll try and spot her now, Barbara. See if she isn't around. They're all breathing pretty heavily, and I wonder if they didn't eat something last night. Perhaps something small. Definitely wasn't their standard issue giraffe and buffalo, but perhaps they found a hapless impala or nyala in this drainage line and managed to eat that.
Sorry, Dan. Yeah.
So just listening to who's coming in and out of the sighting. There are a few people who are showing interest. Showing interest is a way of saying coming to the sighting. And I'll just give you a little update on the weather kind of conditions. It started off crystal clear this morning. Pretty hot. We had a pretty warm night last night. And the air felt very close indeed, very humid. And then slowly as the sun came up, so this cloud came in from the southeast, and there's now quite a thick bank of it covering the cloud, covering the sky, and temperature is supposed to be around 20 degrees. I think that's probably about accurate, but it seems to be cooling slightly as this, what looks like a front, is coming in. So apparently our signal did break up a little while I was explaining what I thought about the injury to the sternum and the ribs. Just to recap, so Lois said that could she have some kind of rib injury and maybe that's why she's limping. I think it is well possible. I think it's a good guess. And she's got a sternum or rib or chest injury that is creating an issue. But like if you've got a kind of sore shoulder or sore sternum, you're going to struggle to use your arms properly. Or an intercostal muscle perhaps that is strained, you're going to struggle to use your, to bear weight on your arms. And of course, the bulk of a lioness's weight is borne on her front legs. That's where the power is, in the shoulders and the jaws and the head. So that could well be where the injury is. So as I was saying a little earlier, the thing with lions is that it's not what we'd call an egalitarian society. There's not a great deal of love lost between lions and a pride. They do cooperate when they're hunting, but they will leave a lioness like that to fend for herself. So they'll move off when they need to hunt. They're not going to stay around her in order to protect her at all. They'll move on. If she can keep up, then that's great. At the kills, she'll have to fight for her food, just like all the rest of them will. But because they're effective scavengers, so if they do come across something to eat, she might be able to get the odd scrap. Now the question is, can she eat enough, steal enough, for her to kind of replenish or maintain condition while that injury heals? the bodies of these animals is unbelievable, the way that they are able to heal. So I think what you'll find is that if she can get enough to eat, she'll be okay. If she can't, no one's going to feed her, no one's going to help her out. If she can't, then that injury could prove fatal. But in the absence of, I don't think, it looks to me like that would probably heal if she has enough to eat. It's astonishing what animals out here can get away with being injured by. I've told you many times before about a monkey that I used to see at a golf course near Palaboa, which is north of here. And that monkey had 2 limbs left. It lost 1 leg and 1 arm. Don't know how. And it had both left limbs, didn't have any right limbs. Big, well-fed, dominant monkey in the area, seemed absolutely fine. It was astonishing to watch this thing running on just 2 legs. Really astonishing. So for a lioness like this, if she's got an injury like that, I think it would probably heal if she can get enough to eat. So that's the key thing here. Andrew, one of them's just stuck its head up there. So we had that injured hippo there, and Jerry, you want to know why on earth the lions wouldn't have gone after him? Friendly people. So the hippo, everyone, one of them's definitely either got a hairball or something in her nose, about to have a sneeze. So that hippo is much, much, much too big for 4 healthy lionesses to try and attack. They may have attacked, they may have actually caused some injury on him, but unless he was severely, severely weakened, the chances of them being able to take, 4 lionesses being able to take out a almost fully grown hippo bull are almost negligible. So a hippo bull, that fully grown one, weighs about 2.5 tons, 2,500 kilograms, about 6,500 pounds, and these lionesses at their absolute maximum will weigh about 150 kilograms or 400 pounds. So for something like them to take out a hippo, it's almost impossible. You can imagine, that hippo is, he's more than 10 of these lionesses, almost 20 lionesses. And remember that one of them is injured and is going to make absolutely no contribution to the hunting and the pride for the next little while. And so we were just chatting about that hippo and its movements and where it's going and why it's going where it is. Lisa, you want to know, would it not smell the water? I don't think they smell quite as much as we think they.
Good morning and welcome to an impromptu and I think the first morning ever fireside chat. My name is Brent. I've surrounded myself with lots of things that I've collected in the bush since I've been here, and we have Brian Djuma on camera. The lions are not too far from where we're sitting, probably about 150 meters. So we do have Rusty with its temperamental starter there in case we have to climb atop to avoid the kitty cats, and I will be watching carefully. That's why I have my binoculars here, so I can check down towards the Djuma Dam and make sure we are not stalked. Brian's at the most risk since he has got his back to the area where the lions are, so I'm watching his back and he's going to be watching mine. So guys, obviously this is a great forum to ask me any questions you'd like to know, and you can do that by emailing us on questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. We will be trying to cut to James and the lines in the show, so we will be trying to give you some wildlife. Until then, you're stuck with me as the only wildlife around, and all my retired wildlife around me. So quite often we speak about the difference between a buffalo bull and a buffalo cow. So I've managed to procure a buffalo bull skull and a buffalo cow skull. So I'm going to pop up. I'm going to stand behind them. So here we have a buffalo bull, and we can see quite distinctly, even though it is covered in horn moths feeding on the keratin, or the substance the horn's made out, and here are those big bosses, and you can see there's almost no gap. Even on some bulls there is no gap between the boss, and much more heavily set built, made for fighting, and you can even see just the skull in general is quite a lot more heavy set than a female. Here we have a female, and we can see how the boss doesn't even come close to joining. The horns are not as thick, not as strong. She is also inundated with horn moths, and horn moths are the only species out in the bush that eats keratin, which is hair, same stuff our fingernails and hair are made out of. And the horn moth species are actually just a form of fish moth. So this same type of moth that's eating these horns are the ones we battle in our clothing cupboards, and the reason we need mothballs. But there we go, nice difference between a male and a female buffalo skull. So since I am going to be sitting around here for a while, I'm going to wander around the fire a little bit, and I have got some coffee on the brew for myself. Let's have a quick check how the water's doing. And I don't know if you guys around the rest of the world use different sort of sugar substitutes for coffee. And this silver tin we have here is a mystery. I'll let you know what it is, but it's a very South African thing that we have in our coffee, particularly when you're out in the bush, when you're out camping, and it is one of my favorites, and it always reminds me of great times I've had in the bush when I have my coffee with mystery silver tin. And of course, I'm a bit of a coffee snob. I do not do instant coffee, so wherever I travel, we have a plunger. So there is, so from what I hear, it is the Nkuhuma Pride that are down at the dam. So that means the Tsalalas are still very close to them. I have no idea where the Birminghams might be. As I said, the last time they headed south towards the Sand River. They could be on either Mala Mala or Londolozi. So interesting times, and very interesting what happened with the Tsalalas, I think, is we tracked them as they headed back south down towards their more traditional home range around Tsalala Pan, where they get their name, and another area called Martley, which is part of Londolozi. And all of a sudden we got that report of the Birminghams heading down to the south, and the next morning immediately Tsalalas were back up in the north. I wonder where the Matimbas are. I haven't heard. Last I heard they were in Mala Mala around the Sand River, so very, very interesting. And hopefully, I really like the Tsalala Pride, so hopefully they decide to hang around for a little bit. The main reason they are moving so much at the moment is because of those 3 young males and the 1 sub-adult lioness. So those are all sort of within range of the Birminghams wanting to kill to force those females into an estrus cycle. So they will be trying their best. They were going to be trying the best to protect those youngsters. So I got a little bit of an update. I didn't copy it 100% about something seen on the Arethusa cam last night. Tsalala Pride was seen on the Arethusa cam, and thanks very much to Bud and Kevin and Sharon and many, many more who saw that. So maybe they are heading back down to the south towards their more natal area. So as moving on from the buffalo skull, we have a very big bone that Jeandre and I picked up, and I asked Jeandre to name the bone, and he had a bit of a panic, didn't think very much, so I've renamed the bone for him, and at the moment, and you can see how completely massive it is, and there's only one animal that's got a bone this size out in the bush, and it's really heavy. I mean, probably even though it's probably lost a lot of weight since it's dried out. I would guess maybe 15, 20 pounds. But it is the leg bone from an elephant, and I actually use it as a doorstop in my room now. A very effective doorstop to keep the nice cool wind coming through. And it's not too often that you find things like this. We do find a lot of buffalo remnants, and obviously that's because the lions are so fond of eating the buffalo.
What did you rename it?
What did I rename it? I renamed it Brian.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's nearly as tall as you. And of course, guys, we really look forward to having questions and updates from you. And if there's anything to discuss, this is the perfect platform to do it. James I saw him meander that way, which makes me worry a little bit about where the lions are. And I'm just going to have a look with my binoculars. Unfortunately, we can't swing the camera around to where James is, but I can just make him out through the bush. I don't see any lions yet, but wouldn't it be exciting if they decided to come visit us? Maybe we could offer them a cup of coffee. And I was really hoping my new best friend, but you never know what can appear out here in the bush, and sometimes things can sneak up on you. And I think I'm quite safe out here, nice and open. Nothing going to catch me out here. I'm very vigilant, so we'll keep having a look. Oh, there's some inyala. And you know, the one thing sometimes, especially at night, you have to worry about is hyena, but not so much during the day. Then we got some inyala wandering up towards us, off to the left. I think Brian might be able to grab them. And they look like they're coming to join us for a cup of coffee. There you go, moving up onto the clearings. Now, inyalas are traditionally browsers, so they might be moving onto this open area, but they're feeding off all the small little trees and bushes that are growing out of the grasses, so not on any grass themselves. And the most important thing about being on the bush is being vigilant and making sure you know what animals around you at all times as much as possible. And listening carefully for any alarm calls and things can keep you safe. But while we're sitting here, I'm going to make some coffee, and while I do that, we're going to go see what James has been up to.
Hello everyone, we have left the lions. I just heard something strange. It's gone. We've left the lions because, well, we didn't have any signal. I don't think they're going anywhere. We're not very far from them. We're not close enough for them to know that I'm lying on the ground next to them, a little bit like a lion. We've come across what looks like an ant's nest, except that there's also a termite here, and I'm interested that this termite is here, mainly because I'm not really sure why he's here. And this might be the beginnings of a termite sort of nest. So let's just open it up a bit and see what else is there. Definitely some kind of excavation. And I think maybe, yes, look, there is a piece of tunnel. It probably belongs to the termites. And it would be a harvester termite. Now, a harvester termite is not a termite that builds a mound like the one we're actually lying on. We're actually lying on the base of a termite mound, and termites don't always build mounds out here. We have 3 or 4 different sort of types of termites, and these are the harvester termites. And harvesters, they go and they kind of cut the dry grass from around where they live, and they dig down into the ground, and in they go, and that's where they kind of live subterranean, and you hardly know about them but for the entrance burrows that they have to their mounds. The other kind we get, of course, is the one that I'm lying on here, Andrew, if you just want to look up to the top of the termite mound there. This is the fungus-growing termite, Macrotermes natalensis. And then, of course, we get something called Odontotermes, which make very kind of low sort of castles. They don't ever get big like this. And those are the three main kinds. We also, of course, get dry wood termites, which go up into the trees and live there. And as with many termites, these guys and in fact, all of them, I think, out here lack melanin. They lack pigment in the skin to stop them being burned. And so they're active mostly at night. And the ones that are active during the day normally have built some kind of a tunnel system. So the dry wood termites, for example, have built a tunnel system on the wood in which they forage, and that tunnel system protects them from the sun. So they're never actually exposed to the air unless they absolutely have to be. Right, let us continue. So we did leave those lions not because I just wanted to stroll today, not that I don't enjoy
I don't know, I'm having fun.
Sorry about that, everyone. I'm afraid I can tell you no more than I have about why it is that we keep losing you. Sorry about it. We're just going to keep walking around here and see what else we can find on what is turning into a fairly cool but very pleasant morning here in Africa. Troubled the core being that we're unable to bring it to you in the glorious technicolor in which we are normally able to. But fear not, we will eventually sort out the problems, and these are little things. We're now through the grove of silver. And one of the silver cluster leaves started to flower. And as I explained yesterday, they smell like rented feet. We're just water and carry on. So, excuse my little song there, I was just calming myself. So these silver cluster leaf trees, some of them have started to flower, and they smell like rancid feet when they are flowering. It is really quite a disgusting smell. You'll be driving through an area, and suddenly you'll happen upon what you can only imagine are a pair of very old boots sitting rotting on the road next to you. But in fact, it is the silver cluster leaf. And I'm going to try and find one. I haven't seen any with flowers. Oh, Andrew, come here. This is amazing. Can you see what we found? It is a frog. Look at that little frog. It's a painted reed frog. And how on earth it has come to live on a silver cluster leaf tree away from the water is a mystery, more mystifying than the construction of Stonehenge. I suspect what's happened is that when there's a lot of water around, there's maybe a little pan or little pond around here somewhere that has where this thing's ancestors lived. Isn't he beautiful? We'll try and get a really nice view of him, and I really think this is spectacular. I love these little frogs, I must say. They're some of my favorite. We don't want to disturb him too much. He's very clearly made himself a neat little nest in this cluster of leaves. That's why it's called a cluster leaf. You can probably see that now. Painted reed frog. Isn't that beautiful? And look at the little golden stripes down his back. Can you see them, Andrew? Little tiny little reddish feet. They come in various different colors, these painted reed frogs. Black and yellow, this white and yellow color. Oh, that's beautiful. It really is very special. Just take a moment, everyone, to appreciate the incredible colors, incredible detail in this tiny little frog. So you probably can't tell how small he is. He's only about half an inch long, maybe 3/4. No, sorry, he's about an inch. No, he's smaller than an inch. He's about, say, 3/4 of an inch long, about 2 centimeters. Tiny little frog. And he'll be waiting patiently to come, and then he'll start singing. He's got a nice kind of chirruping call that he'll make in the night time, and when he's making his chirruping call, hopefully a lady will come and they will be able to make more tiny little painted reed frogs during the course of the summer. Isn't that lovely? It's a stroke of luck, I tell you what. Never seen one of those on a silver cluster leaf before. And of course this is why it's important to spend some time on foot, because on a vehicle we would never ever have seen this chap. And certainly not in the detail that you're getting him now.
You can see the stripes.
Beautiful golden stripes down his back. Now we often get questions about whether frogs out here, I'm going to leave him, he looks like he might jump, and I don't want him to jump off here. If he gets caught in the sun, he will desiccate. In other words, he'll dry out completely, and that will be very dangerous for him. So we don't want him to do that.
Let's say goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Frog. Mrs. Frog. Miss Frog. Could be any kind, really. I don't know the difference. Poison. We often talk about poisonous frogs, and people often ask us questions of them. And we don't get very poisonous frogs out here. We have one species called the banded rubber frog, which is black and orange, and that's pretty poisonous. And they are so poisonous, well, they're colored like that because they're poisonous. And a lot of things out here, from insects to amphibians and fishes and all sorts of things, will be colored. It's called aposematic coloration, when an animal is colored black and orange, often yellow as well thrown in there. They're colored like that because of poisonous, and what that does is deter predators from going near them. They're nothing like as poisonous, though, say, as those frogs, some of the frogs you get in South America, which have been used to make those lethal poisons for arrows and that sort of thing. We don't get any of those here. The banded rubber frog you certainly wouldn't want to eat, but yeah, I wouldn't kill you. There are a couple of toads out here as well that if a dog licks them, they'll start to foam at the mouth, but they don't die. Now I think that if you've been on bushwalk with us before, you've certainly seen this tree. So we'll just stand here. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time at this tree because I know that you have seen it extensively. I think Brent's taken you through it a few times. And it is a beautiful tree that unfortunately has met its end. And perhaps I'll just quickly describe how it's happened. What we see here is the rotting of the heartwood. You can see the heartwood has rotted. Here's pretty healthy wood. You can see this kind of red stuff here would be good planking material. This is rotted, and it's rotted because of various animals that have got into the heartwood and created a space into which fungus and various other things that would rot wood can get. And Marla, one of those would be termites. And your question is it true that there are more termites in Africa than there are any other animal out here? Or combined? Yes, there are. There are definitely more termites in Africa than there are any other animal combined. I'm not sure that there are more termites than ants, but there's certainly more than there are mammals. And they reckon that the combined mass of the termites, this is the most interesting thing I think, the combined mass of the termites out here is more than the combined mass of the mammals, which is quite something when you think of how tiny a termite is. So how many billions and billions of them there must be lurking around the place. So you can see that this wood has been eaten away by boring beetles and various boring insects, and they would have opened it up, the moisture would have got in, and then it would have eventually become too difficult, and as soon as we got a big wind that came through here, it would have blown it over. Now the original culprit, of course, was, Andrew?
Lightning?
No, Andrew, the original culprit was elephants. It was very
So we're back at the fire. I can actually hear, I think to be my new best friend, breaking some branches. I'm hoping he comes for a visit. He might get a bit curious and wander up towards us and come have a look at what we're doing out here on quarantine. And I've been spending so much time with him. I would really like a visit from my new best friend. And as I said, vigilance is very important out in the bush. And I'm sure quite a few of you would have noticed earlier that I'm being stalked by a creature. And the creature's managed to sneak a bit closer while we've been gone. And there he is. Yesterday on the sunset safari, I was asked why I call all hyenas Howard. And it's actually quite a recent thing. And this is Howard, the original. So while working on a film shoot doing cognition studies on lions and hyenas, we made Howard. And that was with Kevin Richardson, and this is one of my photographs. And so this hyena is actually from the Sabi Sands, but from the south of us, and during the shoot it got nicknamed Howard. It is a female, however, so for a couple of reasons. There's a Howard Mnisi. Mnisi is quite a common surname in this part of the world, which also means hyena. And I knew a guy many years ago whose name was Howard Mnisi, so that's where Howard got his name, and that's Howard. And quite interesting, this is a life-size, exact life-size, two-dimensional image of Howard. And while we're doing those tests with Kevin Richardson, and we placed life-sized lions, hyenas, impalas, and all that to test the different cognition between those two predators. And hyenas seem to be far smarter, and they didn't even notice it. They immediately realized it was two-dimensional. They did the same thing with any possible prey species we put in front of them. Whether it's lions, went straight forward and would attack the two-dimensional images. What is quite nice, and not something we're able to do, and Howard's particularly, it is quite a large female hyena, but not so long ago we picked up a hyena skull on the bushwalk, and we're going to try to place it. There's the orbital socket there. So this particular hyena that we've got here is actually quite a than Howard. So this would have been a very big female hyena. That all incredibly muscles, these neck muscles. I mean, look at the size of the muscles, the neck muscles around here, attached to this crest, and also the jaw muscles for closing. And again, very unusually, we also picked up a piece of the bottom jaw. Unfortunately, it's for the opposite side, but the person who fell for the joke with the strongest reaction was Scott. I placed Howard right outside Scott's room, and I left it there, and it was still dark, probably about 4:30 in the morning, and I went to go have a shower. And as I was getting out of the shower, Scott obviously emerged, and we heard him start shouting, which is what you do when hyenas come into your camp. You just shout at them, they normally run away. And I just heard Scott going, hey, and then just burst out into that wonderful giggle that Scott's got. So I'm sure Howard will make an appearance a few more times in a practical joke spin. We get new staff members, and pop it outside their room, and it in the semi-dark of the early morning when we get up to start preparing for the safaris. Well, James is on his way to join us for coffee, and I think the water should be, yes, boiling quite nicely by now. So I'm going to start getting the coffee ready. We have some smart people out there who have been trying to guess what is in that silver tin, and Judy is correct. It is condensed milk. Now, I have quite a sweet tooth. James will probably not have any condensed milk since he is a banter. Maybe we can convince him this morning to not bant. But now, in my rush to set up this morning, I did forget an important piece of fire coffee making. Things, which is a cloth not to burn my hand, so I'm just going to use my
front of our broadcast. He's aware of terrifying Scott the other day. Must be from a diker.
Yes, the diker. I'll let you chat about that while I finish run around to look for paraphernalia this morning.
Are you sure it's a cast?
Yep.
Oh yes,
plastic.
Plasticky.
Yeah.
It's a cast. Right, what else have you not spoken about here? I mean, obviously there are limited opportunities for wildlife experience sitting where we are now.
Well, we do have some Inyala come join us.
Well, that's good.
And when I first saw you moving up this way, I was wondering whether the lions were coming to join us.
Yes, no, the lions are doing what lions do best, of course, which is...
sleep.
Nothing. Yes, correct. Absolutely.
I have heard that an elephant breaking branches just down here, so I was hoping he might come join us.
Quite nice that the temperature has dropped from the volcanic. Well, it got pretty volcanic yesterday and looked like it was going to be boiling hot today. But the clouds have come over and now it's actually pretty pleasant. You've spoken about the tortoise, have you? The tortoise? Right, well let me go and make a small demonstration in front of the camera about the tortoise. Brian, you'll tell me if I'm getting too close. Will any sound come? Only this microphone. Okay. So what we'll do is I'll do it from here. So we've got two pieces to a tortoise's shell. The top is the carapace, the bottom is the plastron. And one of the ways of telling if this was a male or female tortoise, of course it is not any more either because it is dead, is to check first of all the opening at the back here. It would be more open if it was a female, and then, this is slightly confusing to me, if you look at the bottom of the plastron here, that should be much more concave if it was a male. So I would say that this was a female tortoise. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff's not going to be too pronounced at the moment because it is very much a juvenile.
Yes, that's also true, yes. A little tortoise. They do get enormous. In the Eastern Cape, the leopard tortoise will get up to that big, and they'll live for more than 100 years. So we actually saw one very similar size to that at the Arathusa waterhole with an elephant walking around. A very big one. Yeah.
James, I know you're not the biggest fan of this. Are you going to have yours black?
Yes, I will. Well, yes, I'm going to have mine black, actually.
I did mention you were a banter, so you might not have the same sweet tooth as myself. And I do love condensed milk. When I was living in the Gabonese rainforest, this was one of the things I insisted that I would not work without. and I actually can drink it out of the tin if I've done a walk of 50 plus kilometers in a day.
Yes, but Brent, you do have a constitution that many would consider abnormally iron, I think.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Thankfully, this tin mug is not going to burn my face.
It might. And the kettle was on the fire for quite a while.
Oh, very good, actually. Thank you, Brent.
My pleasure.
Now, you did see the hippopotamus a little bit earlier. There was a hippo at Djuma Dam.
Was he going to go sit in the little powder?
Yes, no, he didn't. He was very badly injured. He had a nasty cut down his side. Now, the one thing I noticed about the skull, this is a hippo skull, everybody, unless I'm very much mistaken, is that the flat plane in which his eyes and nose sit. I can't think of another animal that has a flat plane like that. And what it means is that the hippopotamus can stick its head out of the water, or it can stick all three of its most important senses out of the water without exposing any of the rest of its body. So it can stick its nose out, it can stick its eyes out, and it can stick its ears out at the same time. And quite astonishing that it's evolved like that. So that's so it can spot danger. You can imagine it just sticking its head out of the water like that and then popping it back down.
That, of course, James is joking. That, of course, is not a hippopotamus skull. Just to let you know.
What is it?
It's a warthog.
Oh my gosh. I'm so embarrassed.
I thought you were taking the mickey.
Are you sure?
100%.
I would have also said warthog.
Okay. I might just go home and pack my bags and leave. Really? That was a hell of a big warthog. Of course it's a warthog.
So,
I'm so embarrassed now, I don't know if I can speak any further.
Well, good morning, Ashley from North Carolina. Welcome to the fire.
You don't want to say anything ever again.
Can't win them all.
I have to climb under a rock.
Ashley is wondering, do African wild dogs bury their bones like domestic dogs do? Since we are sitting surrounded by
I don't know.
bones. Actually, they don't. You might find sometimes puppies will take a bone away from a kill and play with it for a little bit, but they don't bury the bone. Especially, they don't want to hang around that carcass, and one of the reasons they eat so fast is to try avoid confrontation with other predators. So also, they don't sort of really chew on bones like a domestic dog. They don't have that luxury. So they will eat all the good parts, the meat, and what bones they can crunch through, and then they will often... That is an adaptation to avoid confrontation with lions and with hyenas. And just 1 second. Somewhat, I think I heard alarm calls down towards the dam.
Possibly the lions.
Yes, I was just going to say maybe they'll get moving. So, and moving on, we've got. Sorry, we are laughing because Andrew Francis has confused his radio channels and is blithering on in our ears when he's supposed to be on a different channel.
Right. So
now that we're back with you.
Wild dogs do not bury their bones. Just to reiterate what he said, I'm going to go with what Brent said today. I'm horrifically embarrassed by my misidentification of the skull. And now that I look at it, I actually can't believe that I did misidentify it. And then not only misidentified it, went into a long involved story about its design. And as I was doing it, I looked across to Brent, and Brent was looking at me as in one of two ways, and I interpreted it incorrectly. I interpreted his look as being one of astonishment at the amazing information I was delivering to you. And I thought to myself, well, Brent, it's nice to be able to teach you something every now and again. And in fact what it was astonishment that I was taking the lie to which I had subjected you to the depths that I did. So I apologize profusely for my misidentification of this warthog skull, which I now hope will disappear from my life forever.
I, of course, will place it outside his room every morning. Moving on. A big heavy one. And there we go. This one I'm going to let James identify for us quickly before we carry on.
That's a rhino, isn't it? Yes. Is that correct?
Yes, very correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
As you can see, it's got horns opposite each other.
Yes.
No, of course, James is joking. This is a very large male giraffe.
Yes, very large fellow.
And you can see, quite often on the younger males, you don't see this build-up of bone on the nose. I'm going to turn it sideways for you. And quite a bit of this is sort of scar tissue where the bone protrudes from fighting.
So calcification, it happens on it also happens on, now this is actually true that I'm telling you here. It happens on, well, in human beings. It happens on people who have the, sorry. I'm having a nightmare this morning. It happens on people who play sports that that take a lot of head contact. Boxers, rugby players especially, they get calcification of the skull. Because if you take a lot of head knocks, that's why that kind of calcification occurs. It's like a build-up that protects the brain, and I think that's probably the main reason that it actually happens. And probably through slight damage of the skull, it's like Brent says, a scar tissue build-up.
So, and that calcification can happen in other joints as well. Any major injury to human beings or most animals that have bones. I know my mother complains profusely about the calcification of her knees.
A fine tennis player was Brent's mother. Won Wimbledon. That's not a joke.
No.
We had a question from Brenda about fire and animals, and I'm going to direct that to you. The question of why are animals afraid of fire, and are they, in fact, afraid of fire?
Well, that is a very interesting question, Brenda. Now, fire has played a natural part in Africa for millennia. And, well, one of the main reasons the large open grasslands of East Africa are so productive is that early man has been burning them. And most of southern and East Africa, and even North Africa, outside of the sort of main forest blocks, is what you call a fire climax biome. And what that means is a lot of the species here need fire. So after fire, it gets rid of a lot of that moribund, that dead wood, dead grass that stops new shoots coming through. And grass is probably likes fire the most out of all the plants, and a lot of people think fire does a lot of damage, and certain places it does, but the growing points of grass are actually under the ground. So a fire, especially in the dry season here, tends to sweep quite quickly over the top of the surface, so it doesn't spend enough time to damage that. Unfortunately, certain animals do get caught in fire, and these little guys are possibly one of the ones that have the worst, and chameleons.
Smashed by the fire.
Yeah.
So, I mean, around a campfire is effective simply because it provides light, and B, the smell of it and smell of people would automatically make animals go away from it. It's hot. Animals know, they've experienced fire in the wild, they know that it represents a danger. They can't tell whether it's just a campfire that's making some pretty good coffee, or if it is a raging veld fire that's about to come sweeping through with burning all before it. So I think that's probably why animals are afraid of fires.
And there are some very old folklores or old wives' tales that certain animals, rhinoceros and hippopotamus in particular, will charge into your camp and stomp out your campfire. And yesterday I spoke about a South African filmmaker by the name of Jamie Ace, and that a lot of those rumors were perpetrated by the movies he made.
He has perpetuated a great number of untruths over the years, but like I did with that warthog skull just now. But the other thing about fire, of course, is that it wasn't, I mean, our ancestors learned to harness it, but even before primitive man was around, lightning, of course, has been striking areas like this. And especially if you can look around you here, we're into the heart of the really dry season, and if we'd had a good rainy season last year and there was a lot of grass around here, it would take one lightning strike to set ablaze the whole place. And it used to burn expansive areas, which would then obviously kill a few of the unfortunates, but it would also provide a huge amount of then new grazing, because obviously lightning comes before rain. lightning comes before storm, and so lightning would burn through quickly, and then normally you'd get rain very soon after that, and that would result in some shoots coming through.
Very, very true. Now, strangely enough, just chatting still on fire, since we're sitting next to the fire, there's one animal that has very little fear of the human campfire, and that's very, very interesting, and it's Howard. Howard comes to check out campfires, and that's because Howard's got a very long and interesting relationship with early man and modern man. We are such messy things, and we throw bones around and we leave food everywhere, that hyenas evolved as not only one of the apex predators, but the apex scavengers, so to speak. And humans, specifically early humans, we used to have middens, what they called, of all the bones and food we didn't eat, and they were generally quite close to where we used to live, and the hyenas used to take advantage of that and come scavenge off it. So it's not uncommon if you are out camping in the bush that a hyena will approach your campfire.
Even a lion.
Yes, lion as well.
A lion might well come and look at your campfire.
Curiosity.
Yes, burnt the cat.
Yes.
Right, on that note, everybody, I'm afraid we are going to come to the end of our broadcast. Just to reiterate what's happened, we've had a couple of issues with the bushwalk signal. We don't understand them. We're trying desperately to fix them up, so we are very sorry that we're not going to be able to bring you a full 3-hour show. I think you'd get extremely bored watching the two of us yakking at each other for the next 3 hours.
Yes.
We'd probably end up fighting. It wouldn't be.
I brought my stick in case.
Now, my stick is obviously a lot larger than mine, so I'd have to be fairly nimble. So we're hoping that we'll be back with a decent broadcast for you this afternoon. We can't guarantee anything at this stage. We did have the lions down by the Djuma Cam, so please keep watching the Djuma Cam. I think you also said that there were lions at the Arathusa camera, which is very exciting, so please keep watching that too. I'm afraid in terms of LiveSafari, that's all you're going to get for this morning. We will do our level best to be back with you at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So in the meantime, thank you very much for your patience, and thank you very much for your loyal watching of us, and for sending through your questions and making